Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Burning Hands Fantasy Football. We're going to go over our divisional results and predictions for the conference championship, and then go over just a weekly daily fantasy. I'm a little more confident this week, and we did okay last week, but neither of us had Josh Allen. So um, we had craziest games, probably the closest games. I went 3-1, you went 1-3, but I mean there was no shame really in losing a couple of those. The Chiefs game could have gone either way. Pretty much all of them could have gone either way.
Yeah.
So do you want to do anything you like saw or wanted to highlight from last week, or you want to go right into the conference championship predictions?
No, I mean, that was just a crazy week of playoff football and might have been some of the best ever.
I feel like it's always a divisional week that's great. Wild cards like hit or miss, but I feel like since they added that, the last 2 years have been kind of brutal. But yeah, every single game a last second field goal or touchdown or scoring play or whatever. But first off, we're starting off with Chiefs Bengals, a rematch of, was it week 17 or week 18 that they matched up?
I think it was 17.
17, yeah, because they rested. But it's going to be back in Arrowhead again. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, in my original bracket, I had the Bengals and Chiefs play in the last round, and I picked the Bengals. I'm rooting for the Bengals. That offensive line is so bad, and I feel so bad for Burrow. And the Chiefs have just been absolutely on fire, and I don't see how the Chiefs, who have been there, done it, don't win this game. But I do think it'll be really close, and I'm rooting for the Bengals to win.
Yeah, this is sort of it's funny. The line is like -7 for the Chiefs, which I think is kind of crazy. It reminds me of the Niners Packers game. So like I was on the Niners for the spread, but I picked the Packers obviously. Had the Packers going to the championship and winning, but c'est la vie. But it just feels like it's gonna be close. That's like an easy pick for me on the Bengals for that spread. But I think the Chiefs feel like last year at the beginning of last year, where they're just like in motion. They're just like getting the job done. Like it's been there, done that, and it's hard to. I mean, the Chiefs really they were in control for most of the game last time they faced off, and then the Bengals came back and then had that crazy goal line, fourth down, went for it twice. I think the Bills probably could have learned their lesson with that. Just don't let the Chiefs ever get the ball. But I think we're on the same side here. It's hard to imagine. It would be awesome to see the Bengals. Because the last time they've been in the Super Bowl was with like Esiason or Anderson. I don't know. They generally do not fare well, but it'll be fun to see.
Let's see Burrow get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see. There's only one team I'm really not excited to see win the Super Bowl, but I like three of these teams and their high flying offenses. But now we're gonna move to the NFC, and we got the Rams and the Niners. And I think I know what side you're on, but who do you think is gonna win out on this matchup?
So my original bracket, I had the Niners making the Super Bowl. I don't think that's the case. I think the Rams are. I think the Rams will end up winning this game. I know that shocks you, but I mean, they've just minus the second half last week was awful, but besides that, they were absolutely dominant in the first half, and I think they'll probably do a very similar thing this week. But 49ers have personally a little bit better of a defense than the Bucks, so I think that they'll keep it close. But I think the Rams. I think they've kind of got enough pieces there that they're going to get by the Niners, and they've just looked solid.
Yeah, it is a little scary with what happened, and it was last week. It was week 18. These teams faced up. So Chiefs Bengals week 17 and week 18 for these two, and Rams went up big, and then they started blowing it like they did against the Bucks. I'm not really sure I see that happening again, but it'll be interesting to see if McVay, who has been he came into the Rams, was like this guy that goes on fourth down. He's like this new young guy, but he's been so conservative. I remember we were texting back and forth, and you're like, "No way, Bucks come back!" Right when Cooper Cup fumbled, I was like, "Kill me!" I was like, "This is gonna happen," but thank God, I didn't finish the way I thought I was gonna finish. But I do think the Rams are just a better team. I think the Niners match up well, but Debo is like a little bit hobbling. He didn't like play like 100% of the snaps in that fourth quarter. It doesn't seem like Kittle and like Garoppolo were like totally in sync, and Garoppolo is just not. He doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. Maybe he turns it around, but how many times can they like win in the playoffs? The past was it like three? Was it 2 years ago they went to the Super Bowl? Just
Yeah.
not using him at all, like just avoiding him essentially. I don't think that I think the Rams are just too good of a team. I think that D line is insane, and I think the Packers got 4 sacks on the Niners, and I think it's going to happen again. Williams is still like not great. Was on crutches. They still think he's going to play, but just seems like the Rams are. This is sort of their year, and they got an easier matchup with the Niners, but they have to beat some demons. Um, so I'm surprised we're both on the same side for both of these after going completely different last round. Um,
Yeah.
all right, that'll be interesting. The Chiefs Rams would be crazy to see after that. I think the last time they played was that insane game, but won't be Goff. It'll be Stafford instead. But
Well, I'm personally rooting for Rams Bengals. That is the Super Bowl I want.
Rams Bengals would just be interesting, and I don't think anyone. There's probably like one person in like the country who maybe like predicted that as a Super Bowl. It'd be crazy to see if anyone put any money down on it. But I think I have Chiefs Rams. I put $1 on that, so it'd be like $60 for me. So I'd be pretty excited about that. Uh, I like the future bets. They're way more fun than like everything else. Um, so I'm gonna move over to the fantasy for the week. This is gonna be a rather short episode because there's really less football, so it makes sense. Um, and last week I think you did better than me, but you just had an unlucky matchup. But I don't know if you have
Yeah.
any review over that.
I do have a little. My big players that I had were Aaron Jones, who like went off for like 29. I also had AJ Brown, who went off for a lot. I unfortunately had a lot of cool players. I had the Bills defense, which gave me -2.
Oh,
Yeah, so I finished with 124, but my opponent did finish with 172, so that was a little rough. You finished with 117, and you were pretty even across your entire roster except for quarterback. Rogers had 9 points, and then you also had Fournette, which that's what put you over the top. But you had 31 from him, so
yeah, Fournette's been playoff Lenny, but man, Rogers. That first drive, I was like, I'm good. I got the Adams Rogers stack, and then it just did not. Nothing happened.
that
But
was
yeah,
all the offense the entire game.
yeah, it's. I'm surprised neither of us did the. Didn't really follow the Chiefs and the Bills. I think that was an
No.
oversight. But next year, Josh Allen in the playoffs. Choose him.
Yes.
Uh, but so this week I am choosing the Chiefs. So I started off with Mahomes. None of the quarterbacks were like Mahomes was pretty expensive, but none of the quarterbacks seemed super expensive to me. Who'd you end up going with?
I went with Burrow because it's an extra $800, and then with that also I think that game's going to be pretty much a shootout. So I think he'll probably put up very similar numbers to what Mahomes does for $800 less.
Yeah, I don't think you can go really wrong. I was like debating later in the thing. I've got both their top. I don't have Mahomes' stack, but I chase, so I may actually change that, but we'll see. So for running backs, I went with Mitchell and Akers. I just think Mitchell against the Rams sort of makes sense, and Akers, they just seem to have so much confidence in him, regardless of how much he fumbles. So maybe he'll get a couple points and just need a touchdown. I was thinking about doing Michelle, but they're pretty much around the same price, so it didn't really
You're-
make much sense.
Okay. Your mic sounded a little funky there. I think it might
That's
just
probably
be-
my bad internet.
Oh, okay.
I'm not wired in.
For running back, I went with Mitchell as well. He's had 20 carries in his last 7 games, which is that's just great opportunity, so he'll at least have production. Um, Sorry, my bad. Not 20. He missed 20 against Green Bay.
20 touches though.
Oh yeah, 20 touches. There it is.
Receptions.
Yeah, sorry. 20 touches in his last 7 games. And then I went with Joe Nixon. I think that, I mean, he had a pretty solid week last week. Got utilized in the passing game a little bit. And, I mean, it's PPR, so.
Yeah, and you're buying the Bengals matchup,
Yeah.
which makes a ton of sense. So receivers, I was surprised by how cheap Jamar Chase was. So I immediately went and grabbed Jamar Chase at 67. I might switch that out a little bit later or just to get Hill in, but I guess that'll be a game time decision. And then Cooper Cup, I just had so much salary later on. I was just like, I could get Cooper Cup. And then I have Van Jefferson. Something just tells me eventually he's gonna get like a couple of key plays, but didn't get that touchdown I'm looking for. But I'm
Yeah.
just like hoping he sort of gets. He had a good run too, I think. But eventually they're gonna have to utilize him because they got those two studs, and they're gonna try to take him out. And Niners secondary isn't anything special.
Yeah, so for wide receiver for me, I also took Cooper Cup just because he's going to pay off, basically. Um, I did have Chase in my lineup, but whenever I was like playing around trying to figure out how to get things to work, I decided that I didn't want to have Joe Nixon, Chase, and then I actually have Tyler Boyd as one of my wide receivers, mostly because it just kind of fit cap wise. So I ended up not taking Chase. I went Cooper Cup, I went Tyreek Hill, and then I took Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I was thinking about going for either Higgins or Boyd too. It just seemed like KC might, even though the secondary's been sort of just abysmal, they did sort of keep the ball away from Diggs, but they let Davis have a historic game. But I feel like they've got to shut down Chase or like slow him down at least a little bit. So it's got to move around. It's not like Higgins didn't. I think Higgins had a pretty good game against, and I think Boyd. They almost had almost of them right. They almost had 3 100-yard players against the Chiefs last time, right? It was
Yeah, I
like a
think
big
so.
game for everyone, and I think like Boyd dropped like a big touchdown at some point. Um, who were the other two you had?
My wide receivers were Hill, Boyd, and Cup.
Hill, Boyd, and Cup. Yeah, can't really go around with Cup. I mean, he's just like the CMC of receivers. It feels like.
Yeah.
And then Hill, Taylor Chase, and I think I might just swap just to stack one of those two. Um, Tight end, I just went for Kittle. Part of me really wants Kelsey, and I might think about doing that stack instead of the Hill stack, but we'll see. But middle of the field is where the Rams are sort of weak, and Kittle I have more confidence in than Debo right now just because of the injury. And he's just, one of the better tight ends.
So I went with the cheapest out of the 4 options, and I went with Uzama. So
Not a bad option either. You're just going for the big Bengals play here.
well, it wasn't even that. It was more just like I have Joe Nixon, I have Mitchell, I have Hill, and I have Cup, which are all like pretty expensive players.
Yeah.
So to like fit it, I had to go with a little bit lower, um, just lower options, and he's what fit.
Yeah. Okay, so then we went with Flex. I went with Byron Pringle. It was just sort of finagling. Part of me actually wants to go with Hardman here, so I might switch that up. Just feel like Hardman, he had that big play. I think, did he have a touchdown? Yes, he had a rushing touchdown last week. That crazy play. I just feel like someone out of the Chiefs or the Bengals is going to get utilized. Who'd you have?
I actually have Van Jefferson. That's just such a value at 3,900.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just betting on. It's all these like Van Jefferson, Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, just these guys with good high flying offenses that are like the third, fourth, fifth option that might get the touchdown. And then defense, there was really no great option here. Who'd you
Yeah.
go with?
I went with the Rams just because, I mean, out of all the quarterbacks that are like playing this week, Jimmy G's definitely the worst. So I went with the Rams to try and hope that they get a few turnovers. I mean, but honestly, like every single one of these defenses, it's just like it could be horrible for any of them, and it could be great, like decent for any of them. But I don't see any of them going off for like 20 points or having any amazing defenses this week.
Yeah, my goal was just to sort of stay away from Chiefs Bengals because I feel like that's the much more likely shootout. I want the Niners over the Rams. I don't think you can really go wrong with either one or go right. The Niners are probably the best defense there, but maybe they can get a couple turnovers, maybe not. I think it's like a safe-ish play. I'm not
Yeah.
crazy about it. But
Yeah, when I was looking at like stuff for the defenses, San Francisco definitely has given up like the fewest yards out of all of these teams. So you don't really have to worry too much about that. But then I was looking at the Rams and I was like, well, the Rams they have a ton of talent on that defense that could easily get like a pick six or anything like that. I also thought about the Chiefs because of like 9 sacks is like
yeah, that's
it's in the realm
actually
of possibility.
yeah.
It
Because
just happened. It can happen again.
somebody was talking about the Bengals, like their right guard or someone, just being a turnstile for Jeff Simmons in the middle. And if Chris Jones is a big game, you could see him get like 2 or 3 sacks just alone. And if Frank Clark ever wakes up, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
and if they don't have Matthew, they might be sending pressure in. So, all right. I'm gonna bring up anything else fantasy wise.
Uh, Not much to talk about right now. I guess in future episodes we'll obviously be doing a Super Bowl pick and do some uh, like captain mode for that one, and we'll talk about coaches and how that's going to impact the future for a lot of these players moving forward, and we're going to break down positions in future episodes.
Yeah, be excited for post Super Bowl sort of recap of the full season, looking position by position, and like some and he was highlighting some surprises in the top 10 for each position. It was pretty funny to see some of them. But all right, it's crazy how quickly it becomes like a lot of excitement to just 4 teams. So with that, we'll see you guys next week.